and welcome to the StartupBREW Fargo podcast. StartupBREW is a weekly event hosted by Emerging Prairie in downtown Fargo, where we believe that entrepreneurship is energized over brews. Each week, we bring entrepreneurs, founders, and innovators together because we believe they succeed when they have access to each other and the community that supports them. This week, we welcomed Kevin Biffert with 701X. 701X develops and manufactures highly innovative precision agriculture technologies for livestock. Let's listen in to learn more.
Okay, where do I start? I'm a middle child of 15. So, big family. Grew up in Kildare, North Dakota on a family farm and ranch. So I know a little bit about ranching, not a lot. We are a blended family. My wife Stacy is here. We have 6 kids. I think I went to college for quite a few years at NDSCS. I see Dr. Richmond here, and UND and NDSU. Maybe 10, 12 years. But, and then I started my career at 3M in manufacturing in Wahpeton, did that for 5 years, and then I founded and ran Fargo Automation here in town for 20 years. Fargo Automation was doing automation for pharmaceutical companies, and then I sold that to Corbin Medipac, worked there for 3 years. Greg says I got fired. I didn't. They just told me not to come back. So, and then starting with 701X, started investigating in January 2020, right before COVID hit, and hired my first employee that tried to get me in line, Max Cassette. Max is here today. And Max and I did a lot of investigating, like, is there a product out there? What does this do? How does it work? My 2 sisters kept complaining that they're losing animals, and they don't know where they are. So we first started out looking at tracking animals, and then we started looking at other features that would allow us to track the animals. So, but we did find out that there's 94 million livestock in the U.S., 3.5 billion in the world. It's the largest asset of any product that isn't tracked. People use RFID tags, are not active. What we did is we created something that would track them. And so our journey started with, making a device. We have multiple engineers. I think there's about 15 employees there now. Engineers doing software and an app. And if you go to our website, everybody wants to get on their phone. They don't really want to listen to this. So go to 701x.com and you'll see a banner pop up. You click on that and it'll show you 4 cattle that are out at the Grand Farm. These 2 mothers and 2 calves, and you can see how they move and eat and, do their journey every day. You can also look at a weekly update, I think, and David's nodding his head. So we're physically tracking the animals is what we started out with. So imagine having a stock. A lot of you have stock in companies or in your own company, and not knowing where that stock is quite stressful. So I know people that have 500 cows that are maybe $2,000 a cow. So they have $1 million, and any given day, 5 can be missing, and they really don't know. You only know when your neighbor's cows are with your cows. You don't know when your cows are not in your cows, is pretty much what ends up happening. So with that, there's other things we can track. As we build in the future, we'll start tracking estrus, which is going into heat. When did they get bred? Which bull bred which cow? And then knowing when they're going to calve and getting an estimate of when they calf and whether they are going to calf. So ranchers go through all these stressful things to try and figure this out by outside means. We'd rather have the cow tell you, and based on her motion, what she's doing and how she feels. And imagine having everybody in this country running around and the doctors run around and look at everybody and try and figure out if they're sick instead of the person telling them they're sick. So that's kind of where we're taking this, is to the point where this app and this device tells you when the animal is sick and they can't tell you. I haven't heard any cows talk yet. So going into sales, we're going to start taking pre-orders this fall for this device and for our software. There's not a lot of software out there. There's one company out there called CattleMax that sells database software that allows you to enter data about your animals. Most people use a little book, or they have a little log sheet, or they use Excel spreadsheets is what they use. So we're building on that app to allow them to see this from anywhere, any place. Funding. Speaking of funding, we got $15,000 grant for an AI grant from Microsoft. Microsoft was kind of one of our first things that we chose to use as our database. And we're using Azure, and you can see this from anywhere in the world. So no matter where we go with this, it's going to be useful for everybody. We got a grant from Innovate ND, North Dakota Development Fund. We got about $500,000 there that's going to come in for that funding. LIFT funding we're working on. Those are some funds that we've signed up for and are registered for, and an APUC. So. And then last but least, we might do a round of funding here in the next 6 months to a year, around $25 to $50 million to build out the manufacturing. We will manufacture this product here. It'll be very high speed. It'll more than likely be in the millions per month is what it'll be, because there's 94 million cattle. So right now we're hiring. Our opportunities are embedded software. Software is where we're going to grow a lot. Software developers in our database, direct sales, and then also selling direct on our website is what we're going to do. We're not going to go through some other second-tier market. We're going to sell directly because we want feedback from the rancher. And then we'll do production people too here in Fargo, starting out small and then working our way up to a higher speed system. I'd like to shout out to the current employees. Quite a few of you are here. The cowboy's not here, the famous cowboy on TikTok. We have several videos that have gone over 1 million views in just a few days. Go check those out. Our marketing team is here. They're all excited about all that. I'm not so excited because it doesn't sell anything yet. I'd like to give a shout out to Ryan Richard. I don't know if he's here. And he was one of the first ranchers who, south of town here, worked with us to help us test some of our tags early days and, work with the cattle and do those things right here locally so the engineers could get more involved with cattle right near town. Greg Tavine from Emerging Prairie, thank you for all the advice and helping us steer towards EDA, and I think we've hired 3 EDA students. We started with Dustin last year. That didn't fail, so we kind of kept going with that. So, and lastly, we're giving tours. If anybody wants a tour, our building is 2 blocks over on 700 Main. We have kind of a shop area where we test things and do things like that. We have designers there and just kind of show you what we're working on. Thank you.
After the presentation, we jumped into a live Q&A session with the audience, joined by our host today, Quinn Wrigley from the Emerging Prairie team.
We just want to start off with, what are you most proud of within this last year?
My wife. No, I would just say all the hard work and dedication, everybody, all the employees that are working hard at trying to solve issues. We have some major milestones we've gotten past, and we have a few more that we're just creeping up on. And once we get past those, then we'll start selling and marketing more.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the biometrics that you are going to be rolling out as time goes on?
Yeah, most of my metrics, at least what Max has found, all the studies that we've seen from universities, it's all about the motion. So we're just watching the motion of the animal, and if they change behavior, some animals in a big pasture might walk more, so we're watching their steps and different things. And we're looking just for changes or deviations in behavior. That might tell us that the cow's in heat or going into estrus. It might tell us that she's calving, getting up and down. So most of it's about motion.
Hey Kevin, I've got a guy that you should meet. So our shepherd at NDSU told me probably a couple years ago, he said, if you could do exactly what you're doing, you could tell me.
Yeah, everybody says that.
If you could tell me if ewe is moving and what her temperature is, I could tell you almost exactly when she's going to lamb. And lambing season is pretty important for them because it's crappy weather usually. So any idea if temperature is something that you could track? I think you would totally be interested in the motion thing, as you're saying, and would love to do some research with you if you're up for it. So I might have a couple.
Yeah, they could call Max. No, we're not measuring temperature right now. That's much more of a difficult thing to do quite accurately. Repeatedly we can, but not accurately. So one of the things we're not doing is that yet. We have things on the books that we're going to do that. We did get a call from somebody, and he has 2.3 million sheep or something. He wants them on. We're like, okay, we can't make that many. But people want the same thing. Yeah, they want to know when they're having the babies. They also want to know when they're about to have one too, like get a warning and stuff like that.
Basically, what he's saying is that if you can track their motion, you can tell when they're get
Yep.
ready for it.
Yeah, they get agitated and stuff, and cows get agitated during high heat and things like that too. They also, get agitated just from, strange animals being around and stuff like that. So part of our app will be just, if the cow is running, tell me that she's running, because she's not supposed to run. There's no reason for her to run. There's no exercise program. So typically we're gonna watch their behavior, and some cows may never change behavior, always stay healthy, but then you got those odd ones that might do that. So most ranchers the most stressful time for ranchers during calving. They want to keep that calf safe and with the mom, and and not lose that calf. And I think the mortality rate is about 6-7% until weaning, which is a high percentage. So if each calf is worth $1,000 in the end of the year, it's quite a bit of money if you lose 3 or 4. Doesn't sound like a lot of calves, but it makes stress on the rancher quite a bit. So
NDSU has a farm that's remote, and we put summer cattle go out there for grazing. We had a
it's out by Manning, right?
out by Kindred kind of.
Oh, there's one out there. Larry keeps shooting his deer on there. So
We had a jumper a couple of years ago, and it runs right next to a highway. I mean, that scares the heck out of you when you're 30 miles away.
yeah, I had one at Grand Farm a couple of weeks ago. I took her back. she kept jumping out and going over the interstate. But we knew she was over the interstate. One of these.
Really nice to know before the neighbor calls.
Yeah, they called. We found her at one farm and the calf at another one. And so she's not there anymore.
All right, we're going to jump on to Twitter here. We have a question that just came in. As a startup, what are you doing to attract talent in today's tight labor market?
I think part of it is we continue with our marketing. People want to be surrounded by smart people, and we have a lot of smart people. And I think I can attract other smart people with that, smart people that are there. So it was very difficult. You can ask Max how difficult it was the first time. Max is trying to hire somebody, and they just looked at him like, you guys aren't real. 2 bozos sitting in an office. Now it's easier now that we have a bunch of smart people working for us. Like I said, we're around 15 people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yes.
Where are you sitting at? Somebody in front of you has one. Sure.
All right. Yes.
Good question. It can be redeployed. So if you have a cow that you just want to watch the calf for the year and take it back off, we've made it so you can remove it and reapply it to another one. Your data stays with that old animal, so you can still watch history, but you can reapply it. The other thing is you can transfer it and transfer the data to the next new person. So somebody on a bull or some kind of seed stock might pass that to you if he sells you the bull to you. That way he can maybe monitor it and you can monitor it for additional breeding services and things like that. So,
Yes.
we don't know. No, we've done some testing on that. We've never gone through a full winter yet. But per our testing, minus 30, I think he's nodding his head.
Yeah, minus 20 degrees Celsius, minus 30. We can still do a lot of our functions to a reduced extent.
But yeah, that's a good question. We have the black thing on the front of it is a charging cell. Nobody seems to want to change a battery on a cow. Don't know why. So that's one of the biggest challenges we've had is most dairy animals and stuff like that. People sell these RFID things and things that go on their ankles. The reason they put them on their ankles, they walk in and get milked while they can change it there. So that's why they're putting them in those locations. Most of ours, I mean, it's going to last the life of the tag, which we're designing this thing for a 10-year life. So, and most mothers, if you put it on a mother cow, she will reproduce for about 8 to 10 years quite effectively. Most people don't know the age of their cattle. That's the other problem. They'll say, oh, I think she's around 10 years. And they actually check her and she's 15 or 18. Tom?
Yes. Oh, sorry. We'll go here and then we'll go here. We'll get to you guys. I promise. All right.
Can you talk about the price point, what do you hope it to get down to, and a little bit about pricing?
Bright point. Pricing right now today is quite expensive because we only build like 40, 50 of these at a time. Our hope is to get down to that. We're doing a subscription-based system, so we're somewhere between $5 and $9 a month. And with this subscription, we want to get down to $2 a month. If we can find other ways to make money, like through the sales office or something like that, a lot of our growth will be in the software and adding other services to allow them to do that. Most people pregnancy check their animals. It could cost up to $10 per cow. Well, if we can tell you that that cow's bred or not bred and the date that it got bred, you could save quite a bit of stress on the animal and money in your pocket.
All right, we had a question over here.
I got a big picture question, and this is about startups. You've done a startup. You understand the time, the sacrifice, the risk of doing a startup. You sold your startup from the past. Why do it all over again when you know what you got to go through?
My wife won't let me stay home, so ask her. She'll tell you. So, yeah, I don't know, just like that opportunity and different things. It's not as hard to work now with really smart people. At first, I thought I was a smart person that didn't work, so I had to hire people that were smart. So,
Yes, right there.
What's a piece of advice you can give to people who are thinking about or building a subscription-based model now that you're building it yourself?
don't do it. No, I think you have to. It takes a lot of capital. That's the one thing that everybody misunderstands. It takes a lot of capital to build that, and we're building that. One of the things we're trying to do is kind of start quickly selling so that we don't have to build out all the features and we can start generating revenue. That'll help us a lot. But the biggest thing is, the subscription is nice where we've built our system. Some of the competitors, you have to buy like 25 tags. You have to put up a tower. It's like $10,000. You can buy one of our tags, get a subscription, put it on your animal, and it's literally like $5 a month.
Yes, right there.
What's the communication technology between that and
Well, let's see if I can screw this up. It's a contract we have through Verizon, and it's an M1 network, and it's kind of considered like a low, like almost like texting. It's a low volume network that we pay a small fee to Verizon. So we actually are paying the cell phone charges, and it's actually a cell phone is what it is. It has a cell phone chip in it and communicates through that network.
Oh, up there. There we go.
Remote work in like remote areas in like Wyoming and whatnot, the lack of cell service is not that great.
Yeah, it's a good question. We do have areas right now that we're testing in. We have a ranch that when the cows are on top of the hill, it works. And I think the closest tower is 20, 25 miles away. So our antenna works very well if it can get some line of sight. But once you get in those areas where there's not cell service, typically we're going to communicate with your cell phone. So we have other antennas on this device, Bluetooth and sub 1 gigahertz, that's going to communicate through your phone, and then when you get back, it'll put the data back up on the site. So we may actually save you some money. We'll turn the cell off if we're not using it, and we wouldn't charge that rancher. But we are working on ways to get around that issue, because there are some very, very remote areas, and they're putting cell towers where people are, not where cattle are. Now, we might be able to coax them into putting them where cattle are eventually.
Dana.
So I've worked for farmers and some ranchers for a long time. How are you going to get feedback from ranchers who are typically pretty close back?
Ask family members. Yeah, we hang around. Max hangs around with a lot of different people, feedlot people and people that are, seed stock people. And we're actually getting quite a bit of feedback. They all have this idea of being able to do this. They just don't have the means. They don't have the engineers to be able to do it. They all like the idea. They don't like paying for it, but once they start adding up what it costs them in mortality and lost cattle, and my one sister lost 3 bulls last year, about $20,000. She doesn't know where they are, never found them. The other sister lost, I think, 4 or 5 yearlings, and they were $2,200, never found them. So they don't know where they are.
Are you thinking about working with law enforcement to find those cattle?
Yeah, we're not quite sure how that's going to work yet. I mean, we'll have all the data to say, like, it was taken here, it was put in a trailer, it was going 55 miles an hour for this far, it pulled into this yard. All those things will track as long as it's still on the animal. If they take it off the animal and throw it down, we'll know that they did that too. We also have a suspicion we can see their Bluetooth on their pickup and their phone, so we'll see if that works. But the tag has Bluetooth in it to communicate with different things. We're not quite sure how that is going to happen. Some people may take it into their own hands because they're very personal about their assets that they have.
Yes.
Would that eliminate branding for the cattle?
That's our attempt. We want to eliminate branding. We met with the state brand inspector, and he was pretty negative, but I think he'll come around once he quits working. But yeah, we think that's going to be the goal, is to stop branding. It does cost $30 in when Tyson and these guys butcher them, they dock them $30 if they brand them. Well, $30 would pay for a whole year. So we're thinking that's going to actually happen. And it's also very stressful on the animal. We had all of our employees go out and actually wrestle calves and brand them. They didn't like it very much, but it's something to show people like how stressful it is and the amount of work it takes to do it.
Up top there.
So the volumes you're talking, it would be tempting to move production overseas. Talk about the decision to keep it local here.
Yeah, I part of what I want local, and many years ago I went and sat in Apple's parking lot. I mean, the connection to a university, connection to university students, all those things is very important, and that's why Fargo has done so well. You can see why it works. I mean, there's all these different connections, and Fargo is our place we want to be. So we think it's going to take really smart people to do high-end automation and do really fast manufacturing. So that's why we'll put it here. It'll be highly automated, though.
Yes.
Back to usability testing, the durability of this thing sticking on. I mean, you're talking about swapping this for branding. And what tests are you running, if any, so far? What do you plan to test, like it falling off, breaking, things like that?
Yeah, we've had them fall off. We have them tear them off. We have them step on them. Typically, we know it's off the cow, so we can give you a warning, like where it happened and when. So it's not like you go 3 months later and that cow's got no tag in it. We tell you very quickly that happened. So we are monitoring that. We're making some changes to our product to keep it on longer or warn the rancher. If we can, certain ranchers don't take the twine off their bales and stuff, and they get caught on that. They get caught on various things, so we can warn them that they're getting dropped off. And that'll kind of help them solve some of their problems. Roger.
Kevin, are you going to be at Big Iron and show the farmers this, or is it too late for this year?
We won't do it this year, Big Iron. We are doing the North Dakota Stockmen's Association annual meeting coming up in September, so we'll be at that. And then rodeos, we'll try and market through rodeos and Cowboy Network and stuff. Yellowstone.
Are there any other questions from the audience? Yes, right up front.
Could you talk a little bit about this next step going into Series A funding, and then your experience with working with the resources in North Dakota to be able to get where you are now?
Yeah, right now we've been funding a lot of it with my family's money, and then we think we'll go into Series C, which will be production. And right now with the state stuff, through the connections, Emerging Prairie has helped a lot through that, and that's a great resource. I never had that. The first company I did it was all on my own. I mean, there was just no feedback, no way of knowing what to do, and now there's lots of resources. The state has lots of resources and funding for agricultural products. There's been very little advancements in livestock production over the last 50 years, very, very little. Maybe some in the medicines and stuff like that they've improved, but most of how the rancher works and what they do every day hasn't changed at all. So this will be quite a change. So most people are shocked and don't really believe we're going to do this. And then the next time you see them about a month later, they're pretty positive about it after a while because they see all the stress they go through and stuff to watch what's going on. So.
Yes.
So I'm not entirely sure I understand the metrics that are being sort of captured in the system, but I was wondering if you thought about using the information that's being collected, sort of animal health as a proxy for people being able to understand their soil health. Is there any connection
We haven't quite looked at that. Max might be able to answer that better, but we haven't really looked at that. But carbon capture is a big thing, and we're working with some people on that. Like, how much does this cow at this weight give off for carbon, and how much is the grass producing. There's other things we can see, like scales and stuff like that. So if we can get a cow walk across scale, we can collect a lot of data now that this animal has a device on it that you can communicate to. So we could see where rain is happening, maybe where the cows are and stuff like that. But we haven't really looked into that. We're still trying to just get the GPS position every 15 minutes and report that back, and then their motion and footsteps and things like that. And then seeing that they're inside a fence is where we started.
Yes.
Even $5 or $9 a month, have you thought about going into any other markets with that tractor? Like a car tractor costs, $12 to $25 a month. Have you thought about tracking anything else besides cattle?
No, but other people have. we want to focus on what we're doing, but yeah, once we get to really high volume, say millions a month, hundreds a minute, there will be other sources. The nice thing is you can stick it on something that just has sun and it'll just keep running forever. And it does a very good job of communicating through, cell and other networks. So we haven't looked at that. We're really trying to stay focused on what we're doing, but we think as we drive the costs down, most of our competitors are looking at very low volumes. I mean, 20,000 a month, something like that. We're going to do 20,000 a day. I mean, easily.
All right, we have time for one more question. Yes, right up top.
In the future, could something like Starlink be a way for connectivity? Is that
I can see a couple engineers going, I don't know. Maybe for a local device. I mean, we might get on that network in some other way. Wi-Fi is a pretty heavy energy thing, and so is Starlink. But Starlink could be on your house, and then you could project back to these other animals. We're not quite sure, but we think in a feedlot we'll use other networks, not the cell network, because the cell network, if you have a feedlot of 50,000 cows, can add up pretty quickly. We could save them that money, and we could communicate through other kind of networks that they would have there. We have 4 antennas on this device, so we have other means of being able to communicate quite clearly and quite effectively at a low cost and low energy out of the tag.
All right. Well, thank you. We just have one last question that we like to ask at the end, and that is, how, as a community, can we energize and support the work that you are doing?
I would say share the TikTok, share the Instagram, share all of our stuff. As many family members, you'd be surprised, family members all over. You're always related to somebody, or getting connections to somebody else that has cattle will be very important for us.
So have you been featured in a TikTok yet?
Yes.
Oh!
I'm the yellow shirt guy in the background of one of the videos.
We should have had a screen. We could have played it for everybody, all the TikToks. Very nice. Well, we look forward to checking those out. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
That's all we have for this week's StartupBREW Fargo. Thanks for listening in. StartupBREW Fargo is energized by Emerging Prairie, an organization dedicated to connecting and celebrating the entrepreneurial ecosystem. We'd also like to thank the following sponsors for their support: Pro Resources, Brady Mertz, the FMCVB, Office Sign Company, Fargo Parks, and MidCo. See you next time.